ahead and get you started on how you're going to use Onshape, our web-based drawing program, to work through some of the projects that you will be making in this class. So as of right now, I have my phone holder document open. We went ahead and we named this the other day. Again, first initial, last name, phone holder, very similar to what I have up here at the top. Currently, I am looking at the top plane in isometric view. I showed you the other day how to hide your front and right planes. So something to remember to do. Very simple. It's just a matter of hiding it from the one of the options over here on the left side of your screen, and just clicking the eyeball. So to move this so that I'm looking at the top view in just a 2D mode, I'm going to go ahead and left click on the top view of my cube here, and I'm going to go ahead and begin my sketch. This is something that we started to do last week, and now we'll kind of pick up from where we were. So clicking sketch, it's going to ask you to select the sketch plane. If you already have a sketch, you would just be able to double click on that and it would appear here. So I'll select my top plane, and now I can go ahead and begin. So the other day, or previous to this video, we went ahead and we created a rectangle. Simply clicking on the rectangle tool will allow you to draw one. It's a 2-point rectangle. So first point is our starting point. The second point will be our top right corner, and this would be the end point. Don't stress over the dimensions, because now that I have a rectangle, I can go ahead and edit that. So currently it's showing me 6.13. The max size for your rectangle is 12 inches in length. So I'll type in 12, and now I'll go ahead and, oops, I went ahead and I accidentally clicked the dimension. So if you notice, when you click the dimension, it's not going to give you that. So let me go ahead, back up here, and redo that. Just highlight everything and hit the delete button. So here we go again, rectangle tool. So this is one of those things where students get most messed up about, just the fact that you don't have to click on the dimensions. So I did want to show you that on purpose. And I have my 3 inches, and I'll hit enter as well. And so here's my 3x12 rectangle. Again, this is the max size that your phone holder can be. So at this point, you have a template, construction paper template or graph paper template created. Again, you should have had some type of feature that or design that you're going to cut out of your phone holder. And in addition to that, I would strongly recommend a ruler, because we're going to do some dimensioning on the computer with our drawing. And we want to make sure that we are following our template to almost a T as much as we possibly can. So now, as long as I have my rectangle drawn, I can go ahead and unclick the rectangle tool. And another option would be to just hit escape, and that'll unhighlight that as well. If the tool is highlighted, it means it's going to be able to be used on your sketch. So keep that in mind. Now I want to work through some of these different tools here, so that way you know how you can use them for your project as you begin. Some of these we might talk about in this project, and some of them we're going to talk about as we start looking at your woodworking projects. So the first tool that we'll use is the line tool. The line tool is a very simple tool. You probably have seen it in other programs. So we're going to use it to begin drawing some construction lines in order to guide us as we begin our actual design. So the first line we're going to draw is going to start at the left side of our rectangle here. And this is where we'll consider this to be like the front end of the front side of our phone holder project here, the template. So make sure that you're have your template out the same position the way you're drawing here. And we want this line to extend beyond the top edge of our rectangle, and this is just so we can easily click on that. And again, you just hit escape, and that'll exit the line tool option. And the next tool we're going to use is what we call offset. Offset is going to give us, again, those lines that we can use throughout the project. So offset is a very simple tool to use. It kind of looks like a thumbs up. When you click on it, you're now going to be able to select the line that you want to offset or have showing at other areas of your rectangle. So we're going to click on that, and you'll notice that there's an arrow that appears. When you have that arrow appear, you want to make sure that the line is going to be offset in the direction that you want it to go. So I want it all on top of my rectangle here. So once I have that arrow pointing the direction I want, don't stress again over the dimensions. We're going to hit enter. And after we hit enter, now we're going to be able to go ahead and make those adjustments here with our dimensions. So I'm going to type in 0.5 for a ½ inch. And now I'm going to go ahead and do another offset. And the next offset is going to be for my bend. So I'm going to hit enter. And this one, I know that I have about 5 inches to work with. So I'm going to hit enter. And so this is like the front side or the front panel of my phone holder. I'm going to offset from this bend now 4 inches. And again, you have to hit enter to lock in that you're offsetting that direction. And I'm going to type in 4 for my measurement. Again, this is always going to be in inches, and hit enter. And now I'm going to be able to go ahead and make some edits to these lines. So I'll hit escape to my offset tool at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and use what's called the trim tool. The trim tool looks like a pair of scissors. So I know that my line that's extending beyond this rectangle, I don't need that for where these bends are. So I just want to clean that up. And I'll hit escape. And the first line that we drew, we can go ahead and just delete that. So if you select it and hit the delete button on your keyboard, that'll make things easier for you. And now I want to have another line that I'm going to draw. So if you notice on your lines here, when you hover over towards the middle, you're going to see that it shows kind of like a center point. So that might be a neat feature for you. And I'll hit escape, and then I'll do the same thing over there. So this is going to be my cutout for where my phone would get charged. So now I'll trim what I don't need here. And I'm going to go ahead and dimension this. And the reason we dimension this is because we want to make sure that it is a ½ inch. And I want this to be 1 inch in length. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 1 and hit enter. And then I also want to go ahead and make sure that this is exactly 1 inch. And so what that does is it adjusts everything. So this is 1 inch, this part would be 1 inch, and then this would obviously be 1 inch as well because everything's been measured out. So that's just a simple way to get started with your cutout. Again, you might change your dimensions up a little bit, but at least that gives you a general idea where to begin. And along this line here is where my bend will be after we've cut out our piece of plastic. The next thing I want to do is I want to curve these corners here because I don't want a sharp corner there. I want to go ahead and kind of round that over. So the easiest way to do that is to use what's called a fillet. A fillet's going to be really simple, and it's this tool right next to the trim tool. And you just simply left click on both the lines you want to have a radius at. And you'll notice that it shows me a dimension of 0.25. At this point, we're just going to go ahead and left click. You can always adjust that measurement. So right now, it would be the time that I would do that. I'm good with the way it is, so I'm going to hit enter. And again, I want to do the same thing. So again, as long as the tool is highlighted, you can use the fillet tool and left click. And do the same thing here. And same thing here. So anywhere you want to have a rounded or an arc or some sort of type of radius, you can use that fillet tool. I could continue using it, but at this point I think I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next thing next feature. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to create a slot or an opening for my phone holder. So to do that, you could do it multiple ways. You could use the circle tool and you could draw a circle. You could use ellipse tool and you could draw an opening that way. Or what I'm going to show you is a slot. So let me go ahead and just delete these 2 circles or circle and ellipse that I just drew. And I want to go ahead and first offset this line. This is my bend here. And I want to move this arrow to the other direction. And I'm going to hit enter. And I want that to be 0.5. And I'm also going to offset the rectangle the edges from the top and bottom. So I want that to also be 0.5. And here as well. Again, adjust my arrow, type in 0.5 and enter, and that's going to lock in. So this is going to be like where my this is going to be the center line for my slot that I'm going to create. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit trim tool, and I don't need that part of the line here. So I'm going to just delete everything that I don't need in order to make the slot. And I'll unclick the trim tool. And the other option under the offset, this is arrow here, this caret. If you click underneath the offset, there's a slot. And what you're going to do is click on the line, and what it does is it creates a slot around that. And so right now, the total diameter or width of that slot is a 1/2 inch. So if I wanted to, I could change that to 0.25, and it would change that so it's smaller, or if I wanted it larger, I could have kept it the other measurement. Now I don't need my center line at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm also going to delete the other lines that I don't need as well. So this is definitely one way to begin your design. Now, once you have everything here, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go in and delete all the dimensions because they're not needed at this point. So I just simply left click and on the dimension and hit the delete button. And the only thing that I would have left to do is create my design wherever that's going to be on here so that you can personalize it. So maybe it's your initial, maybe it's some type of logo that you're going to create, and you're going to draw this using the tools here. There is a text tool, but I don't recommend using the text tool. It's not very friendly. So if you're going to draw text, I would use the lines or other shapes that are here in order to create that. The last thing I'm going to do is get rid of the lines that I used as my construction lines. So I'm just going to left click on each of those and hit delete. And so I end up with my final drawing here. When you are done with your drawing, the only thing you have left to do in your sketch is go ahead and hit the green check mark. And when you do that, it's now going to lock in your drawing. Now that doesn't mean you can't edit it. So if you weren't happy with something, you can always left click on the sketch and it'll open it back up for you. But just something to think about. So when you're finished, you're going to hit the green check mark. And I'm going to put this back in isometric view so you can see the next step. And just so we can get a 3D representation and understand like what this looks like as a physical object, I'm going to use the extrude tool here, click on my sketch that I just made, and I'm going to change the thickness of this, or the depth, to an 1/8 inch or 0.125 and hit enter. And when I do that, I can now see the actual plastic and what that would actually look like when we cut it out on the laser. So I'll hit the green check mark, and now I can see what that will look like at the end. So it's kind of a neat opportunity to use a 3D software to physically create an object before we actually do it in class. So this is the first step of creating your phone holder from Onshape. The next video that you watch will show you how to create a PDF in order to send it, or use the laser in the back of the classroom in order to actually cut out your plastic. So as you are working on your phone holder, if you have any questions, simply ask me or a classmate. Obviously this is a new program, so there are going to be some tweaks and changes we have to make, but for the most part I think you're going to find this program to be fairly easy to operate with. So I'm looking forward to seeing your designs, and again, if you have any questions, simply reach out and ask. Thanks.